All right, quick trivia question to start things off here. So I had the chance to go to the Hall of Fame this weekend in Toronto, and look, this wasn't a very deep search, so the answers could vary. But I'm gonna ask you. I saw three Sabres things there in my stay. Do you think you could guess any of them? One of them I did tweet.
Well, I know the one you tweeted. It's the Jeff Skinner on the side panel or whatever it is.
Yeah, so it was a glass case dedicated just to like the Atlantic Division. And of course, the
Right.
Sabres representative was Jeff Skinner. So that was one. There are two
Okay.
others.
Okay. Could I, is this, would this be something current or is it in the past?
They
If
are
I could
both
ask at
current.
least that.
They
They're
are
both
both
current.
current, surprisingly.
Is one of them a Tage Thompson jersey?
No, but you're on the right track. It is a jersey, and it is somebody on the roster.
Because when I was there, this had to be 2016, they had a Jason Pominville jersey up.
Oh, four things. I forgot about that. Four things. Did see that one still up there.
Oh, that one's still there?
Yeah,
Okay. Um, so if it's a jersey, is it a Darlene jersey?
it is a Darlene jersey. Which one is it,
Okay.
though?
50th anniversary.
Mm-mm. Broader
Um,
NHL.
is it an old navy blue one?
No, no, no. It's it was his All-Star jersey from the year it was in Florida. And there's one more thing.
Um,
It's
hmm,
not related to a player.
I'm not sure. I'm drawing a blank.
It was a Sabretooth poster.
Wow. Okay.
So I saw a total of like four Sabres things there going through all the levels. Now that's not including like I don't know if you go to the upstairs with all the trophies like, all the Dominik Hasek Vezina trophies and all that, but you get the idea. Not a lot of representation in there, so
Did you touch the cup?
I did. I did.
So did I when I went.
It's the fake one. It's a fake one, so it doesn't
It's the
count.
replica, yeah.
Yeah, no bad mojo.
The real one's with Sam Reinhart right now.
Yes, it is. I did see that it was his day with the cup. Welcome back to another episode of the Sabre Roundtable. My name is Jonah,
And I'm Christian.
and as always, we'll be talking to you about all things Buffalo Sabres hockey and even a little bit of the wider NHL. That last little clip I had to kind of re-record because I'm a bit rusty. I kind of fumbled my wording there, but we are back, and more specifically, Christian, you are back. It's been a little bit for you as well.
It's been a really long time. I feel like this is the longest I've gone between recording episodes and probably since we started.
And
It's
quite a
been,
bit has happened
yeah, it's been over a month. I haven't been here since the Ryan McLeod trade broke. I
since
was,
before the Ryan McLeod trade
yeah,
broke.
I was on the thruway when that trade broke. And I'll tell you what, that was a tough drive to make, trying to keep my eyes on the road. Don't look at your phone when you're driving, please. Anyone out there listening, don't look at your phone while you're driving.
I can understand if the temptation was there, but and I'm not going to ask how you knew the trade broke if you were driving, but in any case, yes, it has been a little bit for you. Ryan McLeod was not a Buffalo Sabre, and a few things have happened since then, which includes some contract news and some other minuscule things, and even a little bit of NHL news. So we're going to talk about all those things today and more. So should we just jump into the big one? And I think it is funny. I think that the two of us are here to talk about this. Um,
The elephant in
just
the room.
the elephant in the room. Yeah, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. He is here to stay in Buffalo. Him and the Buffalo Sabres settled before his arbitration hearing, which was set for July 29th. So it actually would have been yesterday. I think it was the 29th. In any case, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen signs a 5-year extension that carries an AAV of $4.75 million per season. For initial thoughts, right off the bat.
Well, my initial thoughts are, I like the money. I'm glad we avoided arbitration. The years, that's going to be more of a discussion, but if we had to adjust the years to get to the money we got, I'm okay with it. I'm completely okay with the contract.
I was surprised they went 5 years. I'm really not gonna lie. I am very surprised they went 5 years with the deal.
Do you think he makes it to the end of those 5 years?
Not a chance.
Neither do I.
Absolutely not.
Mm-mm.
If you get into a little bit of the finer details of the contract, he gets a five-team no trade list. I think the last 3 seasons, or even then, it's the last
Three or
two.
two. Yeah.
Um, he's look. We get the comparisons have been drawn to what the Sabres might be trying to establish. Should the tandem be Luukkonen and Devin Levi in this upcoming season, that it very much parallels what the Boston Bruins did with Linus Allmark and Jeremy Swayman. And as I totally see the model for that, and I could see that really working out for them for next year. We just saw it came to an end, and it wasn't even really deserving. Like Allmark had another very good season, and Swayman was fantastic himself, but inevitably they had to choose between the two, and they don't even have like huge contracts over there. Like yes, the Pastrnak contract kicked in, and McAvoy's been carrying a big cap hit, but that's a team with not a lot of big money contracts. I mean, they did sign Hampus Lindholm to a long-term extension last year, and then Elias Lindholm was their big ticket in free agency. But inevitably, they had to cut ties with Allmark eventually. So, I would be lying if I said I thought Luukkonen finishes that contract in Buffalo, and I think even he knows with that no trade list kicking in the latter few years of the deal. But hey, anything can happen. Like Devin Levi is not a finished product whatsoever. And Luukkonen has proven more in the NHL. And I think if you were to ask right now, like who do you think is going to do more in the NHL? I think most importantly, I think the Sabres would tell you, we believe in Devin Levi, that he's the guy. And I think that's the bigger reason as to why I don't think Luukkonen finishes that deal in Buffalo. I think they're just Devin Levi's their guy, and they're going to give him all the opportunity in the world. And honestly, would it entirely surprise you if he was the more defined 1A by the end of the season? Not that it's going to happen, but would it surprise you in that scenario?
No, I don't think it would surprise me at all. I think it would be kind of an annoyance knowing that you just paid your quote unquote 1B a contract like that. So
But he's
I'm
the
cool
1A
with the
right
concept.
now. He's the 1A right now.
I thought you were
That's what.
talking about Devin Levi would have the 1A spot at the end.
Well, yeah, but hypothetically, like, would you be surprised if he took that by the end? Like, yeah, it wouldn't look great, I guess, but at the same time, like, this is not an expensive deal, and I think that is part of the reason they went 5 years. I was surprised they got the number under $5 million, like 4.75 million. If Luukkonen, even if he regresses a bit this season, which it's probably fair to expect, it's good. It's a good deal. It's a good deal, and I saw this floating around. He's the 21st highest paid goaltender in hockey right now. Like 21st for Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen.
It's not a boat anchor of a contract, which we like. Obviously, the term, we don't know if he's going to finish it out here or not. I don't expect him to, but it's a team friendly deal, and I'm glad we avoided all the arbitration nonsense. And there are way worse goalie contracts out there. We've seen them being handed out, along with all the other free agent contracts that have been handed out that have just been insane, I mean, a goalie market is different than someone like a center, but still.
Yeah, there's kind of two extremes. I mean, we saw Jack Campbell. The Oilers just cut all ties. They bought him out. They kind of rinsed their hands that way. But the Senators, they were able to trade Jonas Korpisalo after an atrocious season, which came with salary retention and whatnot. But it's still a movable deal. Should he absolutely crater and return to like his 2023 form. But obviously in the end, you hope that doesn't happen, and you don't want to root against him, because at the end of the day, like, hey, this is their starting goalie going into next season, and it's deservedly so. And it's cool that Luukkonen got the big deal. It's been a long road to get to this point, and it's had a lot of bumps, and the organization has never been fully set behind him. And neither has the fan base, ourselves included. But it's cool to finally see him get his flowers, get his moments, just get his deal that's going to set him up for long term stability in life.
A lot of ups and downs, a lot of hip surgeries, a lot of, bad seasons in the AHL and then good seasons and then bad NHL seasons. Just an absolute roller coaster of a ride from the last, wow, he's been in this organization 7 years now, I think. 2017.
2017. Yep.
So yeah, it's been a minute, but it's culmination of a lot of hard work for him. And listen, I've been one of his biggest haters, but he proved the haters wrong for now. We'll see how next season plays out.
There's always that little asterisk thrown in at the end there.
Yeah, of course.
Hey, goalies, they're
Goalies are
I'm not
insane.
even gonna say the line, but they
Yeah.
are a turbulent and volatile entity. And I think it was Jay Fresh. He put it perfect. He was like, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen in 2023 was bad, and in 2024 he was good. He is a goaltender. Like that
Yeah.
is that's how these things work.
Normal path.
Hmm.
Completely normal. You just got to hope that this is a good problem to have, especially if we have Devin Levi. It's like hopefully if one's not performing well, the other one steps in for a while and vice versa. This is a good issue to have.
How do you think this shapes the landscape for Levi's next deal, which comes at the end of next season? Do you think they? I mean, I guess a lot of it probably does depend on how he performs. But if you were to guess, how does his next contract negotiation go? How does this deal affect next summer?
Well, knowing that he's got a guy in front of him who just got signed, I'm gonna assume it's going to be like a short-term bridge deal almost, maybe like 2 seasons. That this one might go to arbitration depending on how he performs. If he performs really well, this could be a tough next off season if Kevin Adams is here, just trying to deal with the goalie situation. Um, I would say more of like a bridge deal, medium amount, maybe around a little under what UPL is making, and then they'll revisit it again. And then when it comes to, because I think he'd be a UFA at that point, um, it'd be a conversation of, look, let's say they can go one of two ways. I've been performing extremely well. I want to be the number one goalie. They might have to ship UPL out, or it stays the same and UPL, performs, he doesn't, and then he's gone. There's so many different ways this thing can go, and there's so many different predictors. But if I was just going to say what contract, I would say it'd be a bridge deal.
On the bright side, I don't believe that Levi would be eligible for arbitration.
Oh, he wouldn't
Um,
be. He hasn't
so
played enough games.
I think it's just looking it up right now. If a player signed between the ages of 18 to 20, which Levi did, and has 4 years of professional experience, they are eligible for arbitration. So
Got it.
don't don't believe if he don't believe he qualifies. So yeah, it's going to be interesting how if they head into next summer, and Luukkonen is still clearly like ahead of him. What they try to do, I think they do probably go bridge, but then if Levi kind of takes a step and the hierarchy shifts, I'm going to be looking at what Jeremy Swayman is about to sign
Hmm.
with Boston, and I would look at maybe even the Sorokin deal. I would hope it doesn't go as far as the Shesterkin deal, which is rumored to be as high as like $12 million.
The
Um,
Bobrovsky deal.
yeah, but that's all like UFA years bought up and stuff. This would be his first contract post ELC.
Mm.
Um, so I would be looking. I think Swayman is like the big comparable. Whatever he gets here, especially if it goes long term. I wouldn't be surprised if that affects a Devin Levi negotiation should he really shift into high gear next season. But if he doesn't, yeah, I'm not big on long term goalie contracts. I feel like I've stated that before. Like this isn't like bridging. Like if they were to bridge like a Jack Quinn or a JJ Paterka, like I think that's a very different scenario. Goalies are just so unpredictable. I don't hate short-term deals as long as Levi doesn't get walked to free agency. I don't want to. I want to avoid that type of situation.
Hmm.
So yeah, getting back to Luukkonen for a little bit, something I thought was interesting to bring up, based off Evolving Hockey's contract projections. His most likely contract, they had him at 4 years at $5.25 million, and then if you were to go off their projections for a 5 year deal, they had him at 5 years, $5.5 million per season. So Adams is able to get Luukkonen down to a pretty respectable number compared to maybe what he could have gotten. And hey, the Sabres continue to save money. Don't you just love to see that?
Oh man,
You
we're gonna
missed the
get into
cap.
this.
You missed the internal cap
I
debate last
did.
week.
That's something man.
We can't get into it here because it would just be the two of us agreeing for 20 minutes.
No, I know. I listening to the other episode. It was funny to hear your and JP's back and forth about how the money is being spent and what the organization, deems as necessary spending and whether there's an internal cap or not. Me personally, I do think there's an internal cap going on until I'm proven wrong. But I don't know.
Hey,
It's frustrating, man.
it is. It is. And
But
whatever.
we got a new roof.
We'll
We got a new roof, and we got a new
the
scoreboard.
scoreboard's coming in. Did you see the video?
Yes.
That's exciting. It was fun. I wanted to bring this up. I don't think I brought it up on here, but it was so the picture that the Sabres released, or I think a fan was circulated it, and it took the scoreboard. It was when it was being dismantled, and there was like these broken, I think they're LED boards. I'm guessing that's what they are, and they were just kind of like ripped off. And I was just thinking to myself, because it's the side where our season tickets are, so we see that side of the scoreboard. And for anybody that sits on that side, maybe you haven't even noticed it, but that screen has been broken for at least the last 2 years. Every 5 seconds, if they're showing a video on the board or like the live action going on, every 5 seconds it would like twitch. There would be a quick little
Really?
like stutter in the screen, and it's so slight. But when you've been to as many games as I have, and I've pointed it out to JP, it was broken. It was broke, but it's so small. It's so
Yeah,
inconsequential. It
it's
didn't matter. It was just funny. Every time, if you really, really just looked a second closer, they'd just be like, "Oh, it skipped for a second there."
yeah, it's the really subtle things like the little glitch on the scoreboard or someone obliterating through their seat. Just the little small things that you don't really notice.
So I did wonder if, like, I don't know, maybe it was broken. I wasn't, or like those LED boards that looked a bit different, or they looked ripped off. Like, I don't know, maybe that's what caused it all. So just funny, but hopefully won't have that issue with the new one.
Hopefully not. But you know
We'll
what?
see.
Maybe is if they add an extra chicken tendy to my tendy basket at the games, I'm okay being under the cap.
So yeah, if you saw the same thing that I did, you're not crazy. You are not crazy. It really was broken.
I never noticed that ever.
Hey, like I said, it's one of those things. I'm not going to get mad at that sort of thing. It's just, we run a
Well,
tight ship around here.
yeah, well, when you're staring at the scoreboard when you're down like 6-0, you're just like the dead-eyed stare. The meme of the guy like clicking the pen and the guy,
Yep.
big guy in the suit clicking the pen. That's you
Kingpin.
looking at the glitch on the scoreboard when they're down like 6-0 to the Stars.
I
Just
wouldn't be surprised if that's how I found it out. Like, I'm just staring like it was like the Dallas 10-4 game. And I'm just looking at it, just like looking at the scoreboard. It's like, oh, look, it's broken.
there's
That's
a twitch.
nice. And a little twitch. All right, so yeah. All right, moving on. We had another contract extension, this one also being settled before arbitration started. Beck Malenstyn, 2 years, $1.3 million per season.
Seems like another good contract.
Wait
Not
till you
very
hear
high in
they saved
money.
money on this one too.
They did, folks.
Evolving
Let me
Hockey,
tell you.
Evolving Hockey had his most likely deal being 3 years, $1.75 million per year. And then Evolving Hockey, if you went off their 2 year projected deal, it was 2 years, 1.5. So they saved $150,000 per season.
Let me tell you, folks. Terry Pagula runs a tight ship around here.
puts
And he does not
the E in economic.
the
This is where it
E
stems from.
in economics. They're not very efficient and they're not very effective, but god damn it, they're economic.
So Malenstyn gets his contract. He'll be around for the next 2 seasons. And if you've heard Adams talk, whether that be when they acquired him or in the newly released Embedded episode, one of the reasons they really liked the idea of Malenstyn coming to the Sabres was that they would have him for more than one season,
Mm.
because of his RFA rights.
I don't know if we want to pivot into the embedded episode yet or not, but after watching it, I'm more excited about the bottom six than I have been in a really long time. And I can't remember if I was on the episode where you guys really went into it about it. I think I was.
And it was,
'Cause
I think, because all the signings happened
yeah,
for free agency. So yeah,
but just look, just the episode itself, it seems like they've put so much thought into the bottom six. And they actually, you're right. Like you said this before, they actually have an identity now, you know? They wear teams down with physicality and their speed. And I'll tell you what, I was thinking during the episode, like as a defenseman myself, when you're going to back check to chase a puck behind the net and there's a guy barreling at you who's gonna run you through the wall, you think about that when you're chasing the puck. And there's it tips the scale as to how what's the word I'm looking for? How opportunistic a mistake might be. And
so what you're saying is that more hitting
you're on the right track.
leads to
Yes.
more wins.
Damn it, you're right, Jonah. You took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah, I mean it's been their signaling, or their what they've been communicating since, I think, Adams' end of season presser. He wanted to get harder to play against. Then when they hired Lindy, he continued that train of thought, and then the Malenstyn trade happened, and then Lafferty signs, Aube-Kubel signs. It's definitely what they have in mind for next season. And like we said, you can go back and listen to our free agency episode where we really went into the bottom six. Yeah, we're all for it. We're all for an identity in the bottom of the lineup. It's not. I think the part that I did think I found interesting, I think it was when Adams was talking about his conversation with Zucker, or maybe it was even Aube-Kubel, or maybe it was the both of them, where they were like, hey, like, yeah, your team has so much skill, but I think they're just missing that little bit of bite or edge to them, which, I won't completely disagree with. I just think that translates more to forward checking. Like, I don't think it, like, hits or, fights or whatever. I think it means they were a bad forechecking team. And, if you're not forechecking, you're not engaging physically. So it's kind of the two. They go together. They kind of go together.
Exactly. Yep.
And I think that's where the real strength in these signings and in these additions, that's where they're really going to come from.
Yeah, you're not going to win the games, dropping the gloves, or you're not going to win the games trying to bury someone through the boards. I'm glad that they went this route with the signings, just because, you're right. When you sign a grittier player, usually they're better at forechecking, and that's something this team has really lacked in the past few years. And oh man, it was just frustrating to watch the past 2 seasons. Just they'd get the puck in and it'd come right back out. I think you had a funny rant about this. So it's like on the power play, they get it in, it come back out. They try and break in, they get it taken away, comes back out. They try and break back to the neutral zone, and they get it taken away and back down the other end of the. It was so frustrating to watch. So I'm just hoping I can get a fast team that could hem the defenders in and force mistakes in the offensive zone, which could lead to turnovers, and maybe a third line that could really juice this top six or take some of the pressure off. Speaking of top six, that needs work, but
We'll get there.
you will get there.
Yeah, some other thoughts about the episode. I think it was they were talking about Aube-Kubel. I think Lindy was talking about his conversation with Aube-Kubel, and Aube-Kubel was like, yeah, I would like to become like one of the better conditioned teams in hockey. And I think Lindy said that he was stressing that to the players that are already on the roster. So I thought that little bit of insight was interesting as well.
Yeah.
I also thought that I don't want to call it like a rumor. It lasted like 2 seconds. Like neither side was going to do it, but we saw a little bit of footage about the Malenstyn trade, and at one point, Adams. It seemed like that had the Capitals guy had their guy that they wanted. If he was on the board at 14, Adams was trying to swing some sort of another trade down to the Capitals pick, which was pick 17, and also trying to get Malenstyn in that trade back. So I thought that was another bit of interesting, just a little bit of interesting insight, and kind of makes you wonder, like, oh, what would you rather have? Would you rather have 17? Maybe you don't get Hellenius, but I don't think that trade would have been as dunked on as pick 43 straight up for Malenstyn.
At the end of the day, it's like no one was trading players for picks, so you had to overpay somewhere.
It was interesting.
And
McClellan kind of like Adams was talking to him on night one before the draft even kicked off, and he was like, "Hey, what about that Malenstyn deal?" And McClellan was kind of like, "Oh, let's keep that separate or whatever." So like even they were kind of like hesitant to let go.
guys not wanting to get rid of people. It's a tough off season for trades. And I know for a fact, I can guarantee you that Kevin Adams has been working the phones every single day trying to figure out some other way to juice this lineup. It's just a bad year for trades. No one wants to let go.
Off topic, but it's about to be August 1st, or we're recording this on July 30th. Mitch Marner is still on the Leafs. The Leafs have not made any consequential trade, which is kind of nuts.
I feel like they've just made their bed with this. It's like, they had their opportunity last summer, and with the regime turnover and the new guys coming in, Dubas leaving, I feel like everyone was just like, "Oh, let's reassess real quick. Let's see what happens." And then no deal got done, and then his no movement clause kicked in, and now they seemingly might just be stuck with him, or they might just lose him for nothing. I think at the very least.
What if he extends?
Oh yeah, he might.
What if he extends? Oh my God, that's gotta
But
be
the cap is
so.
actually going up this time. This was Dubas's vision until
I heard that
COVID
last
hit.
time. Well, I know.
But COVID
I
hit, and
know.
there was a
I know.
hard cap, and it kind of screwed up the depth on the team.
Do you think he gets more on his next deal?
I He got so overpaid the first deal. It's like maybe not so overpaid, but it was just like
Well, I
you're like
remember.
he's making more than Eichel. We're like, what?
I remember listening to, I think it was Steve Dangle and his crew talk about it, and it's not. It's like when Marner first signed that deal, it was like, okay, like this is a lot, but this is probably going to be what defensemen start making. Like almost think of it like the Dahlin contract, where like Dahlin got $11 million, and you're like, well, okay, that's more than Fox, Heiskanen, Makar, but this is where the defenseman contracts are going to start moving.
You
But
talking
then it
about
was
Morgan Riley, or
no,
are you
no.
talking
I'm
about?
talking about. I'm saying like it's like the Dahlin
Oh,
contract,
okay.
where like when he signed, it's like okay, 11 million, like that's a lot of money, but I'm sure the next few big defenseman contracts are going to look like that.
Hmm.
And but then when Marner signed, it was like, oh, Mikko Rantanen signed for 9.5, or like Nikita Kucherov signed for in the nines, and it was just like, wow, it's like Marner really made out with everything he wanted and more.
That whole core four did, and I mean, at the time when they got
Yeah, I
Tavares,
saw that
everyone thought
Dubas
it was great, but
Dubas came out and said, "Oh, his biggest mistake was signing Tavares before signing the core three." And it's like, yeah, this is
yeah,
what I've been saying. It's like they had that rebuild going perfectly. They had the historic the kind of like the miracle run with them as all as rookies. Then they had a 100-point season after, and then Johnny Toronto hit the free market, and they saw the dollar signs, they saw the pajamas, and had to jump right on that.
and they threw the C at him, and he really, I mean,
Well, it was supposed to be Matthews, but then
the incident,
yeah,
yeah,
yep.
but um, I will say, John Tavares, he's the only reason the Leafs have won a playoff
And
series.
it's true. It's true. Although he also did get outscored by Ilya Lyubushkin in this playoffs. So, all right,
King.
too much Leafs talk. They dug their own grave.
Yeah, they're down here with us now. We've been chilling down here for the better part of a decade and a half.
I don't know if they're down here with us. I think they're I think they're still doing slightly better.
We're lost somewhere trying to dig upwards.
They're like, oh, our life sucks. We got to watch another 100-point regular season.
And we're like, how the hell do we get back to 90 points? Someone needs to figure this out.
All right, last bit of Sabres stuff that I thought was a little fun to bring up. The new guys got all their numbers, and I always like to talk a little bit of numbers. So Malenstyn takes 29. Lafferty takes 81. Aube-Kubel stays with his patented 96. McLeod keeps his 71. And Jason Zucker, who I was really upset. He's usually been number 16. I want him to take 61. He goes with 17. So any thoughts on the Sabres number choices? I know one that should probably pique your interest just a little bit.
The Victor Olofsson one?
Yeah,
is that what you're trying to get at? I had to
bring it up. I had to bring it up. Look, you don't have to burn it now. You don't have to burn it.
That's true. I have the OG Victor Olofsson 68 jersey when he was actually
that's right, yeah.
a sniper.
That's my bad. That's on me. Totally forgot. Sorry, it blurs together.
I feel like, do you think people would get like upset people taking 29, or is that just, it is what it is?
I don't think so. I mean, it's Hinostroza wore it.
Yeah.
I think
McCabe wore it.
If you flash back to when Aaron Dell took number 30 for like 20 minutes, it was more so like no Sabres goalie had worn 30 since then, so kind of made it worse.
It would have been bad.
Yeah, I don't think like Pominville, I absolutely love Pominville. I don't think he's ever going to have his number retired. Same thing with like Dahlin taking 26. Or I remember my father complaining when we first got Tuck that he took 89. So
Mogilny's number.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, I don't know. It doesn't really bother me.
Has anyone worn 89 since Mogilny? I can't think of anyone, honestly. I think it was just Tuck and hold on, let me think.
There's definitely like one niche guy, like one drought player that did it. Let's see here.
I'm not thinking of anyone.
It is just Mogilny and Tuck.
That's what I thought, yeah.
Yeah, it is. 3 people have worn 88. Can you name them?
Jamie McGinn.
You're not gonna. Yeah, you might. I'll give you a hint on the one. He's a Canisius alum.
Canisius alum?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. Is this like a guy from like early in the drought?
Yeah.
Is it that Mazzaro?
No. Corey Conacher.
Oh, Corey Conacher. Okay.
There's one more. He played in 2021. He was a
Really?
tweener. He was a tweener.
What, a tweener? What?
Like between the AHL and NHL.
Oh.
Brandon Davidson.
I don't remember that guy. I remember that's like Jeremy, but like I hear Jeremy Davies when you say Davids. Like I don't remember that guy.
All right, there was one person that wore 86, and he played one game with the Sabres, and I only know because he's a goated puck doku answer. He played in 2022, one game.
He was 86.
They claimed him off waivers, and then I think they put him back on waivers.
Falby? I don't know.
Christian Wolonin.
Oh, I remember him. Wasn't he a defenseman?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he played one game with the Sabres.
Yeah, I remember that guy.
Yeah, used him so many times last summer.
Christian Wolanin.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus,
that is a name.
See, if you want more fun trivia like this, go listen to BST's episode of one of their most recent episodes. They did a Jeopardy style trivia.
Yeah, they're recording tonight. But go check out the Buffalo Sports Talk trivia episode where Christian and I got to answer questions just like that one and more. And also stay tuned because Sabres Jeopardy is coming up in a few weeks.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yes. All right. So that basically does it for Sabres news, Sabres related stuff. If we want to hop a little bit around the NHL, if we want to touch on the top six conversation that JP and I had talked a little bit about last week, one of the players that we had discussed as a potential trade option, Travis Konecny. He will exit those conversations because he just signed an 8-year contract extension with the Philadelphia Flyers, $8.75 million per season. Huge contract.
Oh yeah, that's a big one. From hearing the interviews afterwards, it seems like he never wanted to leave. He just wanted to be a part of that organization, which is admirable. But also, I think I jinxed that one because in our group chat, I texted like, "Oh, we're gonna get Konechny," and I have to say, like maybe an hour or two later, he signs the extension.
Yeah, we do that sometimes.
It
Yeah,
happens.
it's weird. I always thought he was the one for the Sabres, or at least the one to leave Philadelphia, because he's like, I don't know, he's 27. He doesn't really fit their timeline. I mean, I feel like that organization was almost set a whole year back just because of the Cutter Gauthier stuff. And I know Michkov is coming over now, and they'll probably have him for next season, which is cool. I don't know. I feel like they're still due for like another 2 years, maybe, of basement dwelling, or maybe Torts can work some magic again next year. But I feel like that roster only got worse. But hey, I actually think that's probably right on the money for what Konechny provides. Really good top six player. It's a shame he is no longer an option for the Sabres.
I mean, who really is at this point? Um, I don't know. With each passing day, everything seems like more and more of a pipe dream. But he would have been a nice addition. Don't get me wrong. I would have moved, you know, a piece and some capital to get him. Not too much,
Perhaps a
not the
prospect.
untouchables. But yeah, he would have been nice in the top six, maybe even on the first line on some nights. But there's still guys out there. Patrik Laine,
Why
he's
don't we get into the Line A
he's there.
conversation? So this week, some good news for him. He got cleared by the player assistance program, which he had been in since last season. And Line A has, for a long time now, been dealing with a lot of mental health stuff on and off the ice. There was that ridiculous incident last year where a Blue Jackets podcast made a joke about it, and Line A turned it into a good cause and helped get some donations for a mental health program that's in his name. So good news to see him cleared out of that program. And then it also came out shortly before then that Columbus is willing to trade him for prospects and picks. And Friedman later added, once he was cleared by the NHLPA, that teams that were interested in Line A, they're free to contact him directly, just to see how he's doing and how he would view, I guess, assuming how he would want to, or how he thinks he would fit in a certain environment. So, look, man, top six player, public address saying that he'll go for prospects and picks.
Dude, it is literally the lowest of the lowest hanging fruit. It's just reach out and grab it. As long as he wants to come here. I mean, I get it. Maybe Lindy sees something where he doesn't like that he's not a very good
I'm
defensive
sick of saying.
forward.
Okay, I'm sick of saying that. Like, oh, he wouldn't be a good forward. Like, or like he wouldn't like him. No. Like I just don't like. I don't like when people just like see a player like that and like, Lindy wouldn't like him. Like, I don't know about that. I think
I
my thing. There's two things here. League perception might be he's more of a reclamation project. So it might be a situation where teams don't want to give up picks and prospects. And B, it's a huge cap hit. I mean, I like Line A, and I think he's really like rebuilt himself in Columbus. I mean, he had like a really under the radar good two-way season 2 seasons ago. He's not the same player he was in Winnipeg, but he's not an $8.7 million player. And for me, I would need retention on that deal,
yeah.
probably down to like $6 million. And that could be, I mean, that might be off the table for Columbus, but I really, like, I can't pay, not especially now with the cap. I say this now, even though the Sabres have a ton of cap space, $8.7 million for a player that might not work out. it would be a big risk. But I am for the idea. I think he, he fits the need. He's not. I think there's other ideas I'm probably still higher on, like the Zegers idea. The Sabres have a lot of plus shooters already, and Laine would add to that, which isn't a bad thing, but it's more of the same. But I'm still for this idea if you can do it at the right price tag.
Yeah, absolutely. Retention, definitely. How many years does he have left on his
I think
contract?
three more
Ooh,
at 8.7. So yeah, it's
okay.
kind of
That
like
is a
you
little heavy, yeah.
you have to be careful with it um, if you're
Could
taking
they
that deal on.
could they do deals where they could retain maybe in the first season and then you come off the books? Or is
I
that
don't I
like
don't I don't think deals like that are allowed.
it'd be nice. I
It would
mean,
be nice, but
benefits both sides, makes a player more attractive to be
two
moved.
seasons. I'll correct myself. Two
Okay.
seasons.
I mean, yeah, it's not terrible. It's a short-term deal, and it's a guy who's legitimately could play in your top six. I am not opposed to that. You know, there might be some people who sign the checks that might be opposed to something like that, but this team needs to be good now. And I reiterate, Kevin Adams' job is on the line. You can't go into this season with question marks in your top six. I wouldn't stake my reputation on that.
Yeah, it's an intriguing idea, and we'll see where it goes because I don't know. It feels like another one. It would be weird if he started the season in Columbus. I feel he probably really wants a change of scenery. So we'll see where he goes. I know a team like Seattle was like really connected to him because they just need scores bad, but they kind of spent the most amount of money in free agency, so I feel like they're out of it. Utah would be interesting because they have a lot of cap space, and I feel like that's also a type of goal scorer they really don't have on hand. So, and I also saw like Montreal fans thinking that maybe he could be a fit for them. So I don't know. There are probably a number of teams interested, but I doubt there's a bidding war with that contract because, like I said, I like Laine. He's not an $8.7 million player.
Montreal's busy handing out money to below average defensemen right now. I don't think they have their eyes set on Patrik Laine at the moment.
The Blue Jackets did have a pretty busy week. They signed Kirill Marchenko to 3 years, $3.85 million per season. Then they got Kent Johnson to 3 years at 1.8 per season. So I thought that Kent Johnson deal was really weird for Johnson, and even for the Blue Jackets because I feel like if you anticipate he's going to break out, that next contract might be dicey. And then finishing it off, Dean Evason is their head coach pick, which is interesting.
I don't even know who that is. Just saying it right now.
He
Don't
was
even know who that
he was
is.
Minnesota's last coach, and it was funny because I think it was Evolving Hockey, who obviously they're based out of Minnesota. They were like, I totally forgot he wasn't the Minnesota head coach anymore. Because he was fired at the start of the season. So, I mean, he's not the worst option. It's just kind of like if the Sabres had hired him, it would just be like, okay, like this is like a vet NHL head coach with some experience of winning and whatnot, but it's just kind of a boring pick.
How early into the season did he get fired?
I think it was like a month because remember
That's
they
it?
hired who did Minnesota hire? Um, remember they had because I remember they hired him. They fired Edvinson and they hired who is their head coach? John Hines.
The ketchup
Um,
guy?
I,
The mustard guy.
I don't know. And I remember they went on that. They had like a new head coach bump while we're just sinking away with Granado at the helm. So I do remember
He was
that.
going down with the ship. And Oposo knew the ship was taking on water, and he did not care to say anything.
Columbus goes with Evason as their head coach pick. Getting back to the Leafs, some Toronto Maple Leafs news, or I guess Toronto Marlies news. Alex Nylander signs with the Toronto Marlies.
It's kind of amazing he didn't get an NHL deal.
It really is. Like he was good for Columbus towards
Why
the
didn't
end.
Col why didn't Columbus keep him?
I don't know. It is a weird pick. I mean, I don't think he's like. Maybe it was a fluke. Maybe it was a little bit of one, but I still feel like like a San Jose or I don't know, a Columbus could have used him on their NHL roster, but this did feel inevitable at some point. Those two,
Yeah.
I feel like they were always going to sign with each other at one time or another, and
The
obviously,
funniest,
obviously Williams not going anywhere now.
no, the funniest possible outcome would be Toronto getting off to a really bad start, and then the entire fan base wanting them to call up Alex Nylander to play with Willie Nylander.
That
And
would
then
be
they cruise to a 75-point season. That's not going to happen, though.
no. I still remember defending him in 2016, saying he was the better Nylander. Not one of my better moments.
Jeez.
Up there with Middlestead is better than Pedersen. All right, so to close things down here, it is kind of the big news that kind of took the hockey world by storm when it happened. Stan Bowman is back in the NHL. He is the new general manager of the Edmonton Oilers.
Not a great look for the Edmonton Oilers, and it's not a great look for the National Hockey League. And the Bowman family, hockey royalty. But that guy, that specific Bowman, he has definitely tarnished his own name.
I'll try to I want to come at this a little bit differently, like because I did hear a lot of like the opposing view, like second chance and whatnot. And look, from the sounds of it, he was doing stuff to like he was doing programs and whatnot, and supposedly he talked to Kyle Beach, and um, I was listening to the last episode of the Steve Dangle podcast. They went pretty in depth into it, and Steve did a good job kind of talking about how even when the whole thing was going down, it seemed like he was doing some stuff behind the scenes at the time before he resigned. At the same time, and while that's great, why, why GM? And why in the NHL? Like, this is his first job since getting fired. He's the
Eh,
GM of Connor McDavid.
it's crazy to think about, right? Give me Kenny Money back. We need Kenny Money back.
Like there's been a lot of people that have come to his defense and saying that he's been doing a lot of stuff off the ice, and it's not that I don't believe that. It's just,
It still
dude,
it still seems
it's
too soon.
dude, it was 2 years ago or 3 years ago. Like, it's way too soon, man.
There should have been like some sort of stepping stone in
Like
between there.
no, like hire him as a scout or like an advisor.
This is like a situation where like a player has a bad rap and they go to the KHL and then they come back. Maybe he had to go serve a tour in Russia or something. I don't know, but going right into the head of the organization basically is they don't have a president of hockey
Well,
ops, do
Jeff
they?
Jackson. Well, that's Jeff Jackson.
Oh, yeah, Jeff Jackson. Um, yeah, I don't
And
know,
you know
man.
what the funniest part about all of
It
this?
makes me feel it's gross.
Do you want to know?
It's not right.
Do you want to know the funniest part of that about all this?
What?
Like, this is not Joe Quenneville. He's not a good GM. He waltzed into a Chicago dynasty that was already built for him, and then he tore it down. Like the Panarin trade, awful. The Teuvo
Terrible.
Teravainen trade, awful.
Teravainen was on that team. I didn't even
Yes,
know
he
that.
won. He was on the. I think he was on the 15 roster, and they traded him
Really?
away for. Was that the? No, what? Who was? I forget his name. I'll have to look it up.
That's crazy because I thought he was a Carolina Hurricanes draft pick. I
No,
just remember seeing him the first time I saw Teuvo Teravainen was when the Hurricanes were playing and they were playing in the Hartford Whalers jerseys. That's the first time I remember seeing that guy. So it was probably pretty recent, maybe like a few years ago, maybe like around COVID times, but
Yep. So that's
or
what.
a little after that.
So the Blackhawks traded him in 2016 to get rid of the Brian Bickle contract. So all they got were 2 second-round picks. So they
Brian
got
Bickle contract.
they basically got nothing out of Teravainen.
Didn't they also give like Dave Bolin like an astronomical amount of money?
Mm-hmm. And
That's
then
another bad decision.
honestly, I think the Panarin one. I mean, yeah, people laugh at that. He wasn't the Panarin he is now. He was still very good at the time. Um,
Hmm.
I feel like I remember there being doubts he was going to sign there long term, although I could be misremembering. But his worst trade was the Seth Jones trade. Like that
Oh
was him.
yeah.
That was Stan. That was Bowman. Uh,
Who let this man cook?
I mean,
Get him out of the kitchen.
I'm trying to remember the exact return.
It seems like he's constructing a Draisaitl contract right now. Isn't Draisaitl signing for like 8 years
Yeah,
at like
it
12 million
sounds
or
like
something?
yeah, it sounds like they're gonna get that done. But I mean, I'm sure Jackson has been a bigger part of those negotiations, and I don't know. It's funny. It's kind of like the Blackhawks. Like he walked in there in 2010. Kane was there, Taves was there. They had Bufflin, they had Seabrook, Keith, all of them. And he did his job. They won 3 cups. They were pretty close to they were a modern NHL dynasty. And here he is now. He gets to be the GM for the greatest player, arguably to ever live, and another arguable top 5 player in the sport.
It seems like this could I feel like this could be really bad vibes for the Oilers. And I know they
I
got
mean,
off to a bad start last year.
it's just a bad look. I mean, if
It's like
anything,
bad
they
juju,
should have
man.
just. I mean, Jeff Jackson. I don't know if you saw. He went private on Twitter before he announced the news. So like he knew this was coming.
He put the wall up before he knew, before he announced the news. That's hilarious.
I think at that point he should have just done what who's the new GM in Ottawa? Michael Anlauer brought in Steve Stais. I'm pretty sure he was like Stais was just supposed to conduct the GM search, and then he just named himself, or he got named GM. I think if Jeff Jackson would have just done that and had Bowman as like an advisor, like it still wouldn't be a great look, but at least he's not the general manager.
He
And
just named himself GM.
I think they just did a search, and I think Ann Lauer just came to the conclusion Stais was the better guy.
Just
Remember
looking around the room.
remember there were rumors like
He was
Peter
like,
Chiarelli was one of the candidates.
oh, Peter Chiarelli. That would have been the funniest ending. But he was
Yeah,
probably just, looking around the room and then he's just like, the best GM has been in front of me this entire time.
as he's
It's
standing in front of
me.
a mirror.
It's you. Just pointing at himself in the mirror.
I think, I mean, if you're an Edmonton Oilers fan, I feel like you almost would have rather rehired Peter Chiarelli because it's just it's
Well,
such
I
a
don't know if you go
more
that far.
dude. I mean, but like what? I guess at what point do you put the health and safety of your hockey team over like an ethical dilemma? But
True.
I don't know. Like if the Sabres hired Stan Bowman, like how would you feel?
Oh man. I like I said, I feel the same way I feel now. I feel it feels gross. It just does. It doesn't feel like it's been enough time. Isn't this the guy who gave Brad Aldrich a recommendation
I
after he
did
left the
I
organization?
did see that sort of shot down. That I don't think it was ever. I don't think it ever was confirmed. There was a direct letter of recommendation, and I think it was shot down. I could be wrong. The letter of recommendation thing might not be true, but they still knew. And this
Yeah,
guy,
yeah, all of them
and the
knew.
guy still went on to work with children. He went to a high school,
That's the most messed up part of it.
and this stuff still happened. Um, and I think, this is not. I don't know all the ins and outs of the case, but I think there was someone in the Blackhawks organization back in 2010. When they had these internal meetings that were like, he was like, go play hockey. I'll deal with this, and then it was just never dealt with. And apparently there was. I totally missed this. There was another player that came forward last winter on the Blackhawks.
Really?
But they signed an NDA, so we'll never know.
Jesus.
And he also, I guess he made, an unwanted advance on a Blackhawks intern at the time. Like, it's just disgusting. It's disgusting.
Did that scumbag spend any time in jail or prison?
I don't think he ever did.
That is the most messed up part of the entire thing. They should throw his ass under the jail.
It's just,
Ugh,
it's an uncomfortable, it's
sickening.
just an awful situation. And it just makes you feel weird seeing someone who had, as someone who had direct knowledge of what was going on,
Yeah.
seeing their punishment be less than 2 years, it just gives you a bunch of uneasy feelings. And I'm not looking forward to this fall when the first NHL head coach is fired, and
Yeah.
we'll start hearing about Joe Quenneville being the next guy.
Could you imagine just being that much of a low life to be doing stuff like that?
No.
I mean, I'm not even gonna get into it, but it's just it makes my stomach turn, and it's just I I got choice words for people like that, and I'm just gonna keep them off this podcast because it's it's disgusting.
Yeah. So on that depressing note,
We need another trivia question, Jonah.
okay, I'll find one. I'll find one. I'll find one.
We got to pick this back up.
Okay, so I did the goalie simulator at the Hall of Fame. What was my score?
Uh, okay. How many pucks do you? It's a timed thing, right?
I think there were 8.
That I gotta say, I've done that. Those are really hard.
It's
I'm gonna
tough.
say I'm gonna say 5.
I got 5.
Yes.
I went 5 for 8. Good job.
Did you play as the actual goalie?
Yes, because I figured
That one.
I figured shooting would be like 2. I had to like go outside my comfort zone.
Dude, my dad played goalie, and I saw him the way he would like come out, and you have like the blocker and the glove like more prominent out towards like the front of your body. Those things come in fast.
They're
And
quick.
you
Dude,
cannot see where it's
I
going.
was sitting in line, and I'm just like watching. There's like little kids doing it, like 10, 11, 12-year-olds, and it's just whipping past them. Just the one went bar down. I'm just like, jeez. It's like this is not user friendly.
Did you
This is
see
no joke.
did you see Wayne Gretzky's story about being at the Hall of Fame? He said he was doing the shooting simulation one time, and
Mhm.
he wanted to be low key, so he had sunglasses and a hat on, and he went in there and he was like 0 for 1, 0 for 2, 0 for 3, 0 for, and one of the kids working came up to him. He's like, "Sir, if you hold the stick more like this," he's given the greatest player in the history of the sport tips on how to hold a hockey stick.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, those simulators are flawed because I was watching people do the shooting one. I don't think I saw anyone score more than 2. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it
No
is
joke.
hard. And I was 15 when I did it, and I'm pretty sure it's probably the same as it was when I was there, but I got to go back. It's so much fun going
Yeah,
there.
it's good. It's fun. It's not quite the baseball Hall of Fame, but it's still
I've never been there.
the baseball Hall of Fame is probably like as good as it gets. I mean, it's
Yeah.
probably triple the size. You can just get lost in there for hours.
I drive through, it's in Cooperstown, right?
Hmm?
I drive through Cooperstown all the time too, so I'm never stopped. Should stop one time.
A lot of Yankees history there for you, I'm sure.
Ah, I got to see it.
All right. So I think that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you very much for listening. Next time we meet, I have no clue because it's very sparse right now, but we are, we're not even into August. This is
We're in the middle of the slow season.
the doldrums.
I feel like it's gone quicker than last off season. That's my personal opinion so far, but I'm almost certain once we get into like the end of August, it's gonna feel like it's been forever.
That's true. I also feel like the conversations are different. Like
Mhm.
last summer, it was who's going to play goalie for 3
Happy
months.
times, yay!
That's been replaced with is there an internal cap? So
It's been replaced with "Is there a God?" From the quiet optimism last year of just like, oh, we signed a couple depth guys and we're gonna make a step forward to this offseason being like, how do we get out of the 7 circles of hell?
all right. So I think next time we meet, like I said, don't know. I do have some stuff planned for August. I would like to make a prospect pyramid sort of thing. And then as we get closer to the season, I think we're going to do more like divisional centered stuff. So still stuff to look forward to, and hopefully we're not completely locked out of Sabres news.
Yeah.
The only thing left is, what does Peyton Krebs get? And then we'll have all our loose ends tied up. So
Praying for a trade, man. That's the one piece of news I'd love to talk about in the month of August.
it would be nice. So with that Thank you very much for listening. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can follow us at The Sabre Report. Also on Instagram and TikTok at The Sabre Report. If you watched this on YouTube, thank you very much for listening. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. If you want updates for the pod, you can follow us at Sabre Report Pod. Go give our friends over at the Buffalo Sports Talk podcast a listen. Like I said, we did our trivia episode with them, and then they're recording tonight because Bill's camp opened up this week. Christian, I know you got to go there.
I did. It was a great time. A lot shorter than I remembered it, though. Like, because when you go as a kid, you go and you do all like the like they got the inflatable stuff where you can like kick the football and like
You
climb
didn't,
stuff.
you didn't partake in any of that?
I was told that I was too heavy to go on the rock wall.
That's
But
evil,
no,
dude.
we told we watched practice 2 hours long. It looked great. I mean, we didn't get to see James Cook. He was excused, but we saw everyone else really
Par for the
pulling.
course with James Cook and Sean McDermott.
Yeah, really pulling for our hometown boy Joe Andreessen to make the roster. But it was a good time. I was glad to see some football, and bake in the sun for 2 hours.
So go give them a listen. They'll have some storylines to talk about coming out of camp. And other than that, like I said, thank you very much for listening. Feel free to leave a review. We'll see you guys next time. Go Sabres.
Go Sabres.